fucking love this movie. I love this YouTuber too. This guy's name is Moon. He makes little deeper videos. So we're about to get into a deep topic. So get your debate brains on. Get your thinking caps on. Drink some energy drinks. So we're about to get in some deep shit. One of my favorite movies that come out recently is The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Like, my favorite Joker will always be fucking Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger will always be my favorite Joker. Like, rip Heath Ledger. Like, that will always be the best Joker. But the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was still so fucking good. And, like, I guess because I was older, like, I gleaned way more like real life, like not really indie windows, maybe metaphors for like IRL shit from the Joker. I don't know if you guys did or not.
Is a warning of how a modern Western society will collapse.
Mark Hamill's.
And today, this warning is more important than ever, because the movie accurately predicts how revolution will come about in the West. And judging by recent events, we may be much closer than we thought.
I agree. I feel like we could definitely have like a revolution in the next like 20 years. Like, our country could just fucking blow the fuck up. Like, I feel like there's gonna be enough like mental illness, hysteria, that people might actually fucking lose their minds, and like, there might be like people like just like rioting in like joint, like because it's not like the Joker. It wasn't because of like maybe a little political, like, yeah, kind of political, but more just like there's like so many people with mental health problems, and they all were just like so insane from not getting the proper help that like they fucking started destroying the city. And now Women made it, so.
What I mean, Joker gives us 4 clear stages of how modern society collapses, and what will be behind a major revolution in the West. The first stage comes when a society is no longer connected, when communities are destroyed and loneliness is the norm. And we see this in the first section of the movie.
People are so lonely nowadays. It's insane. You don't know how many people, and you guys might feel this way too. You guys might be able to personally feel this way, but like I've met so many people, and I talk to so many people. So many people are genuinely just so fucking lonely. It's insane.
Joker starts with a mirrored reflection of our protagonist, Arthur. From the looking glass, we see a sympathetic man displaying a sense of sadness and vulnerability. A man who has to put on a public mask to blend in as best he can to the society that he lives in. And the movie shows us why Arthur needs to do this by giving us a window into his sad life. You see, Arthur has a job at a company named Ha-Ha's, where he works as a cheap clown. But he isn't the circus brand of entertainer. Instead, Arthur spends his time flipping signs on the street and doing other odd jobs. But one day on the job, while Arthur's doing his sign routine, a band of teenagers snatch it from him and run away. Arthur immediately starts chasing after them.
Bro, I fucking hated this part of the show. I hate teenagers, dude.
And hit in the face with his own sign. The group of thugs then pour salt on the...
Like, what the fuck? Like, bro, this is not fuck. This shit actually happened. Like, like, it's always like, oh, this shit doesn't happen in real life. Like, people don't just get jumped and fucked up for no reason. But people really do. It might not happen to you, chat, but like, people really just get fucked up by like, there'll be like a random group of people who just are out looking for trouble, just looking to fuck someone up, ruin someone's day, and just to fucking hurt someone. Is it if for no real personal gain? Like, they're not gaining anything from this, but like, shit like this actually fucking happens.
Wound by kicking Arthur while he's lying down on the concrete. It's in this scene that we see the first cracks in Gotham society and the consequences of the lack of social cohesion. You see, no one bothers to try and help Arthur, even though it's clear that he's been treated terribly by the people around him.
Dude, yes. Did you guys see that one video of that girl getting kidnapped? Like, she's in broad daylight, a human trafficker is kidnapping her, and no one helps, and everyone just starts fucking filming. Like, bro, I've seen so many videos like that where people are getting fucked up, fought, like getting beaten up, getting like robbed, women getting taken advantage of, and people don't do shit. They just record it. Bro, guys, I realize how dumb they are. Teenagers are the worst.
It's a mirror of life in Western megacities, and this is having a significant impact on Arthur's psychology. To understand this properly, we need to consider a concept called the looking glass self, a sociological term that describes how a person's perception of themselves come from how they think other people view them. This develops in a 3-step process that begins incredibly early in life. As children, we slowly tap into and notice how other people react to our behavior. Those reactions are then attributed to judgments about how we act. And lastly, an individual then forms a self-image in line with how they think others are judging them.
Dude, I could kind of see this like happening in my real life, like growing up, and not as much anymore, but growing up, bro, I cared so much how people perceived me, and I created like a certain type of image so people perceived me a certain way, and then the way they started to perceive me almost became really how I was, even though it was all fake. It was all like just a facade, and everyone does that, of course, to an extent, whether you want to or not. Even nowadays, even I do it now to an extent. Like, you can't not do it. Like, people will always care to an extent of what others think of them, how society views them, how others view them. People will always fucking care. It is very, very hard not to not give a fuck how other people see you, how society sees you, how like everything sees you.
Charles Cooley, the sociologist who first coined the term, thought that this process of socialization was what made people human. But in Joker, the whole idea of the looking glass self has been thrown on its head. Arthur's self-image is so terrible because he's been convinced by other people's actions that he himself is terrible. And this creates a positive feedback loop, where every time someone treats Arthur poorly, he mistakenly believes that he deserves it. And a negative self-image like this will only
I feel like people who are in toxic relationships, abusive relationships get into this too. Like they just feel like they deserve it. Like this is what they deserve. They don't deserve any better. Like I've met so many people and they're like, oh, like tell me about the relationship, tell me about the problems. I'm like, why do you stay? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Like why don't you change? Why don't you make a difference? And not just relationships with life too. Like why don't you make a change? Why don't you do better? And they're like, I just deserve it. I deserve this.
A compounding hatred of oneself. And Joker is just so popular because there are millions of men like Arthur in our world today. Because our entire culture is creating a breeding ground for loneliness, despair, mental illness, where we're bathed in atomizing celebrity at all cost nihilism. A society that's rebuked lonely, despairing young men into thinking they're worthless, angry freaks who deserve nothing but contempt. The hordes of castigated men is symptomatic of a very deep problem in our society. This is shown in the next scene, where Arthur talks to his therapist and asks,
"Is it just me, or is it getting crazier out there?"
But unfortunately, talking to a therapist.
Chad, do you think the world is like, because obviously we had a huge progressive swing, a huge mental health swing where we're way more, I would say right now we're way more aware of mental health problems, and we've identified them in a lot of people. Like a couple of years ago, like soldiers, not a couple of years ago, years ago, soldiers would come home from war with fucking PTSD, and then no one would say anything. They just thought it was like, whatever, and they'd fucking have to deal with it, and they'd go crazy and kill their families or fucking go shoot places up, and like because there was like undiagnosed PTSD or whatever it was. And like nowadays, we identify that. We take a lot more precautions, not just in soldiers, just in general in life. We take a lot more precautions with mental health. But I still feel like things are getting crazier, things are getting wilder, even though people are more aware of their mental health than ever, and almost too aware of it. Can't relate though. I deserved my first boyfriend. He was cruel. I thought it was because I was so terrible. It's not. It's never because someone who does you wrong or anything that happens to you is not because of it. So like it can be like, obviously if you're a bad person, you do bad things. Like bad things are gonna happen to you. But like if someone like outside of themselves, like a boyfriend, a parent, a friend does something bad to you on their own volition without like it being undeserved, like for no reason, like if your boyfriend slaps you, which is never a reason for your boyfriend to slap you, that is never your fault to deal with it and not seek help. I still think men to a certain extent are still kind of like that in certain circles.
This doesn't seem to be helping his mental health a whole lot.
Not as bad though.
So instead, he tries to get something out of the session by asking for a higher dose of his 7 medications, but all to no avail. He tells his therapist that all he really wants is just to not feel so bad anymore, but finds no refuge in her cold demeanor. Arthur treads a long flight of stairs up towards his apartment where he lives with his mother. She is almost physically immobile, whilst also being mentally unwell, with Arthur being left to take care of her all by himself. Once the two have dinner together, they turn on their favorite TV show, Live with Murray Franklin. Arthur idolizes the host, so much so that he starts imagining what it would feel like to be amongst the audience.
That's so sad.
Arthur envisions sitting amongst
the crazy thing is, so I watched the Jeffrey Dahmer series, Evan Peters, but I also watched the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes. I don't know if that's the call of the Netflix series, but it's more of like a documentary style, more factual. And it starts like this. People who have mental illness start to fantasize these weird fantasies and live these crazy fantasy lives. Like you guys think you fantasize and have a crazy imagination. Like you and I think I felt this to an extent for like a year in my life when I was at a really rough spot. Like my fantasy life was so huge. Like I was almost like constantly in my head, constantly imagining myself somewhere else, constantly imagining like my real life was terrible. Like I was working these jobs I didn't want, and like the only solace I had was just like this imaginary fantasy life I'd have in my head that I would just get lost into sometimes. What's up, Hollywood? Have you guys ever felt that? Like the only solace in your life, like you've been like things are so bad, you're so down bad, you're so hurt that the only solace you have is like inside of your head, like a fantasy world that you've created to escape from the real world. But it was good, Hollywood. How was yours? Yep. Like it's sad. It's sad. This happens to so many people. It is sad that the brain escapes trauma that way. That's why I like books so much. It really is.
Out and shouting out to Murray, who asks him to stand up.
That's why I read.
Talking about taking care of his sick mother.
Do you guys think reading is a healthy way to cope or unhealthy way? Like obviously reading is good for your brain, can make you smarter, helps with your what's it called? your attention span, etc., and obviously the knowledge you get from the books and the literature and the artistry of it. But do you guys think it's a healthy escape? You're
All to hear inappropriate chuckles coming from the audience. However, Murray immediately settles them down.
That's relaxing.
And relates to Arthur's story by
Thing for
talking
me.
about how his father left
Good.
him as a child.
I lived with my mother before I made it, just me and her. I'm that kid whose father went out for a pack of cigarettes, and he never came back.
I know what that's like, Murray.
Murray is like a father to Arthur, and he invites Arthur up on
Then for
stage
me,
and the
it
two
helped me
share
focus
a
on
reassuring
another reality.
embrace. The next day, Arthur returns to work and has a chat with his co-worker Randall before he starts the shift. While the two talk, Arthur mentions the group of teens who assaulted him, and Randall offers him a gun for his protection. Arthur's hesitant.
Jesus Christ. First of all, who the fuck just gives someone a gun? Guns aren't cheap. Like, why would you just that's fucking... I guess if you care about someone, you try to be like their boy or whatever, give them a gun, but still, that's pretty wild.
But Randall insists, and so Arthur takes the gun. And right before he's about to leave, Arthur is told to stop by his boss's office. Once he arrives, his boss coldly reprimands him about losing the company's sign the last day.
If you don't return the sign, I gotta take it out of your paycheck.
Arthur can only put on a phony, empty smile, as his boss takes a cut from his wages to pay for another sign. It's clear that Arthur has nothing going for him.
That's so
He has no
sad.
connection to his work, he has no connection to the people around him.
I've been there, dude. I remember when I was driving trucks. I remember, like, I just was, like, so lost. I just felt so defeated. I felt like I was just stuck. I felt like I was just stuck doing what I was going to be doing. I was in school. I had my dreams, my passion was just crushed. I had no creativity outlet. I had no fucking no real feeling of who I am and myself. And I remember just sitting there, and I was like in my car just before work, in the fucking lot where they have all the trucks. And it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I had to fucking like go on a ride for 16 hours in a fucking truck and do all this shit. And I mean, I just felt so fucking defeated, so fucking lost. I felt so lonely. I felt like this is what I'm stuck doing. I have no other option. This is how you live. This is how you make it in society. It's fucked. It's so fucked, bro.
He is completely unfulfilled and washed with nihilism. And this is where the second stage of societal revolution enters the picture, the resentment stage. You see, Arthur represents millions of lonely men who have been trodden on by society. Each and every time they're put down, it makes them more and more resentful of the society that has rejected them. This resentment then boils under the surface, and it's clear in Joker that this exact process is happening to Arthur. It adds to the growing resentment within him, and every time he's dehumanized like this, it burns away more of his looking glass self. The loneliness and negativity that this creates in both the individual and the society leads to mass resentment. But what is resentment if not a lack of good communication? Our society has ignored Arthur and millions of men.
I feel like I'm like that. I feel like I resent society. I resent work culture, or how like you're pushed into like a career. You're almost like corralled into like getting stuck in like a cycle. Like you go to college, you finish college, and you're like obviously you get a better job. Like you're just stuck in that job. You're stuck working. You're stuck working to eat, working to feed your family, working to do this. Your life almost becomes like a worker bee, like a drone, just fueling the economy, pushing the economy forward. And I feel like there's like no real time, no real energy left for like passion in human beings, hobbies, interests, and things like that. Like I see it in like my friends, my family. It breaks my heart. I feel like the best thing in life is like find something you're passionate about, finding a real meaningful escape from like the reality of like fucking work life, like taxes, all this bullshit.
Men like him. But beyond that, the lines of communication have broken down completely. There's no outlet for men like Arthur. There's nothing left for them to turn to. In Michel Foucault's book, Madness and Civilization, he paints a picture that's strikingly similar to what we've discussed. He states that madness or mental illness isn't purely biological or a chemical problem, but is instead deemed so by the society of the time. Like in our age of cancel culture, where we've been taught that people who think differently are a danger to society and that they must be
Oof. This is getting into some sticky territory. So I'm a huge opposer of cancel culture. Like, do I think that some people like for example, like Kanye West right now. Kanye West is like fucking like saying some wild ass shit. And like a lot of like companies like JP Morgan are refusing to work with him, etc. But like being openly anti-Semitic, I wouldn't really say is like being a free thinker expressing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then like Eminem, who was like just born in a different time, where back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, like the rap game and everything was just filled with rage. A lot of rappers, a lot of artists were just like, there was just so much hostility, and it just in society and the culture, and it just translated to music. And now they're trying to cancel Eminem for that very things that happened back then. Like now, I feel like our music. Let's look at an easy example that we can look back on. Like from like 2014 to like 2018, the music was reflected of a really, really huge drug culture. Drug culture, I think, has waned a lot. Like everyone was popping Xanax, popping acid, popping pills, like Lil Pump, Lil Peep, all those little SoundCloud rappers, Juice World. Everyone was just promoting drug use, and how amazing it was. But then again, at the same time, like nowadays, like we see all of like the Juice World pass away, Lil Peep, all the fans and supporters who got overdosed and died from like, or if it got into fentanyl or whatever. We see that's not as good. I feel like it's waned a lot. But we're not canceling their music because it was promoting drugs, because low key it promoted a drug lifestyle. It was just a sign of the times, kind of. You know what I'm saying? There's like even older music, like you can listen to like music from a certain period of time and just see what it reflects the culture and society. I forget about like SA and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I'm not saying like for like crimes. If you commit an actual fucking crime, of course, Nick, you're 100% right.
And bullied.
But that's not being a cancel culture. That's ridding society of fucking criminals. You know what I'm saying?
You see, there's numerous factors contributing to how a society perceives and labels individuals as mentally ill. But for Foucault, this has led to an overly simplistic view on madness as a whole. The practice of rejecting those who think differently has deprived people of the ability to interact with outsiders.
I agree.
This fracture in dialogue leaves many people.
I agree, and I try to tell people all the time. People are like they're so opposed to each other. They're like, if you don't agree with me, I hate you. And the opposite sides, like not even a political way, just a societal way. I feel like it's not like we haven't separated right and left, Republicans, Democrats. I feel like we separate as a society. And I would say it's like more like progressivism, not even as like a political thing. Progressivism as a societal way. People are progressive societally, and there are people who are conservative societally, and they're just going at it. They're not trying to find common ground. They're not trying to convert. Like if you really are very progressive and you want to like promote progressivism and society and acceptance and mental health, blah 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 blah, like you shouldn't be so like aggressive towards the other side, and vice versa the other way. If you want to preserve conservatism in society, you got to be like trying to like prove a point, bringing people to your side. And I feel like all it is the sides fighting, like the sides wanting to crush the other side and get rid of them completely. This is bullshit. Like I think Kanye West fucking calling out like saying Jewish people are like evil and trying to ruin the world. Like he's and JP Morgan is ran by, like, I'm pretty sure ran by some pretty powerful Jewish men. But what the fuck is wrong with having powerful Jewish men? It's like saying like, oh, I don't think black people should be powerful. That's fucking stupid. That's so dumb. There are plenty of powerful black business owners who I'm sure own banks and stuff, or whatever. And if I started like being like, and I was a famous, really high profile celebrity, and I started like putting out racist propaganda and racist hate speech, and like, hey, we don't want to serve you because you're fucking racist against my culture or whatever it is, my race, whatever it is. Like that makes fucking sense to me. It's like if I was when I was manager at GNC one day, I had this guy come in, and I'm a very like. A lot of people think I'm gay just from in my hometown, just from the way I look, because my hometown's very redneck. And he was just being homophobic, just being weird. And I was like, and he was gonna buy something, but he's making like jokes about saying, like, oh, like he's making a little bit of gay jokes that I don't fuck with that. Like if you can make gay jokes, but if you make them in a way to fucking put someone down or like think lesser of them because they're a certain way, like I don't fuck with that. I'm all for making edgy, hurtful, mean jokes. I make them all the time. But I do it because I think it's like, I do it as a joke. Like, it's funny. There's no, like, ill intent behind my words, ever. Like, people hate celebs because they're conservative, but why does it matter for no one's going to agree on anything? Yeah, Kanye's really went off the rails recently. Well, I have a little bit of sympathy for Kanye because I think he's very, 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 very mentally ill. But it's very, like, sympathy's barely left. You know what I'm saying? Because he lost a bad bitch.
Talk about
that's what losing a bad bitch will do to you. And then recently he's been off the rails, dude. I know JCat because I was watching this guy named Destiny, and he was talking about how like people are figuring out Kanye now. But then he was like showing old Kanye interviews, and I had no idea how bad that interview was back in 2016 of him talking about how slavery was a fucking choice. I didn't realize how fucking crazy Kanye was. Obviously, like, I've always liked Kanye's music, but never been like really like involved in like that side of it. But I watched it, I was like, dude, this motherfucker's been insane.
Comprehend the underclass's problems and the reasonings for their disillusionment, and this of course only leads to more loneliness and isolation for those living on the outskirts of society, which is why the Joker holds a mirror on how a society that shames young men is in fact responsible for the consequences that this brings. A hollow, meaningless, synthetic culture that shows nothing but vicious hostility towards true expression and authenticity. And this lack of effective public dialogue is clear in Joker.
I agree.
Arthur is constrained by the clinical apparatus of therapy.
It was good.
Has become his only place of solace from society. In his first scene with the therapist, it's clear that Arthur isn't getting any actual help from the system. He still feels awful all the time, and it seems like his medications aren't even doing what they're supposed to. What Arthur really needs deep down is friendship, love, and community. All the things that the
community is completely gone. That's why I love my fucking community. I love you guys so much because that's one of my biggest fucking missions as far as a Twitch streamer. And I'm not gonna fucking change the world, but I can change the people within my circle, the people that I come in contact with, because I think community is so important. No matter how different you are, I feel like our community is very, very diverse. As far as race, sexuality, fucking just ideals, morals, everything. And I fucking love that. And I accept everyone in my community. Obviously, if they're fucking bigoted or racist or some shit, they can fuck out of here. I don't fucking accept that. But I like to like I feel like we have a really diverse community, and I feel like that's what you need. You like it's like a like, obviously we're not perfect, but like that's what like the ideal society is, the ideal community is. So like my fucking ideal community is built a fucking community of a bunch of people from everywhere that we can all just come and fucking hang out. Like obviously, like I would say that chat, a lot of you guys disagree with me on a lot of fucking shit. But do you guys fucking hate me? Do I hate you? Fuck no. Yeah, we argue, yeah, we go at it, and yes, I might disagree with your points, but at the end of the day, I still fucking respect you and love you as a fucking human being. Like, that's not gonna change. And like in nowadays, if you don't agree with everything that a community is saying, they fucking ostracize you and they exercise you. I might be using the wrong words, but they fucking push you out of the community and you're a loner. And if you're like in that place where you don't really agree 100% with each community, you're alone. You're lonely. That's why there's so many people go so far left, so far right, because if you don't, you will be alone. You'll be fucking alone. We love you, Mikkel. What's up, Avengers? Like, it's like you have to fucking buy in all the way to one side, or you're gone. Like, you're gonna be lonely. You're gonna be like shit on by both sides. And like I said, I'm not going political at this point.
Radical atomization and
because I think like even like outside of politics, our fucking society is just fucking so split. It's so split of just like maybe not even a political. It's not even political ideology. It's just like two different mindsets almost. And it's like we've all bought into like almost two different mindsets. And it's like there shouldn't be two different mindsets. There should be fucking infinite amounts of mindsets. Each person should have an individual mindset, and that comes together and forms a community, forms a society.
Breakdown upon society destroys.
Like I say this all the time. Sorry, I keep pausing, but I fucking feel like I meet like 10 people, and not you guys. People ask like me. I meet 10 people. I've met everyone in the world because everyone's like a copy of another person in some way or another. They spew the same ideology. They spew the same ideas. I hear the same shit, the same buzzwords, the same everything. Like from both angles, from every angle. It's like you meet like a couple people. You've met everyone in the fucking world because everyone's basically the fucking same. You just look a little different. You know what I'm saying? You guys feel that, or is that just me? What's up, Avengers?
Or any way to meaningfully express himself, and it's tearing him apart. But as Foucault said, there's no dialogue with people on the fringes anymore.
Yes,
and that is what causes growing resentment in society.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
Huge swaths of men are completely detached from the world around them and pushed into the shadows. We see this in the
and they go fucking insane. Now I don't know if this guy will do this. Now this is one thing I think I'll disagree with this guy on. Even if you're pushed to the fringes of society, even if you're shit on and you're getting treated unfairly, that will never excuse an action of violence, an action of hurting someone else, like in the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel sympathy for what the Joker went through, but I will never feel like condone, like say like, oh, it's because of society his actions do that. Because there are plenty of people who go through these things and don't do these things, don't do like evil things. It's going good. How are you, Avengers? Just fucking get into some deep shit. So make sure you have your thinking cap on.
when Arthur takes his anger out on a nearby dumpster by violently kicking it on his way home. But just as Arthur is about to take the elevator up to his room, he stops the door from closing after a woman asks him to hold it. Introducing herself as Sophie, she's joined by her young daughter, and she begins making small talk with Arthur. This comes as a shock to him, and Arthur has trouble maintaining composure.
Yes, Mercy.
After Sophie makes some joking notions about the awful state of their building, she mimes shooting herself in the head, and this little hand motion sends Arthur head over heels for her. You see, so far in the movie, Arthur's only meaningful connection has been with his mother, so when a woman shows him some genuine affection or at least treats him like a human being, this 180 makes Arthur immediately fall for her. But he isn't exactly in love with Sophie, since he barely knows her. Instead, Arthur is in love with the idea of what she could be. In Arthur's mind,
I like someone who's always thinking.
Sophie is an image of perfection and safety rather than an actual person. She's the escape from Arthur's horrible dystopian life, and yet due to his anxieties, Arthur hedges his bets and doesn't talk to her any
Thank
longer,
you, Mercy.
as she could either outright reject him or turn out not to be the person he had imagined, because she is the only ray of joy to come into his dreary, hollowed-out existence. And if he squashed that, he'd have nothing left. Because Arthur doesn't have higher purposes or goals. His life...
That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, you have to have a higher purpose. You have to have a goal. I ask this to people all the time. They're like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm going to college to, be, even if you're, like, I would say there's a few college degrees where you can have a higher purpose or goal. Like, I would say, and if I step on your toes, good. This will make you think. Like, medical field, I think is a form of higher purpose and goals. If you join the medical field, I think helping lives that way. Anything in the medical field, things like you help with kids, work with kids, like social services stuff. But there's other examples I'm sure you guys can know. It's just like Evangelion. But like for the most part, I truly believe that like most college degrees are just preparing you for a higher level job. That it's not a higher purpose. That's not a higher goal. And as an individual, not everyone's higher purpose or higher goals can be the same. But like in life, you got to be pursuing something more, pursuing something like you got to have it. Whether it's having a strong family union where you raise some amazing kids who go out and do great things in the world, or you build a community and you help people mentally and physically grow, or you travel the world and see things for what they are. Like there's a million different things you can think of, or you want to be an artist and you want to put some vibrations out into the world with your art, with your music, with whatever it is. Like everyone needs a higher goal and a higher purpose to completely be happy. Good luck, Mercy.
Feeling inadequate,
I believe in you.
Feeling numbed on medication, living a boring existence, or so that he can seek relief from the tedium by intervals of pleasure. And these pleasures and joys are uncertain and brief, so Arthur has to grab any joy he can and drown out the realization that his whole life is futile and meaningless. And it's this sort of thing that actually leads to things like incels and OnlyFans. This phenomenon has grown immensely.
Oof. I might disagree with him on this.
In the past few years, something that we haven't seen before in hundreds of years of history, and this is a result of a huge section of society being completely detached from the people they see on a daily basis. It's this loneliness and not having any goals that makes people do crazy things to nourish their soul.
I agree with this. I agree. Like when you don't have a fulfilling life, when you don't have a higher person, when you don't have a higher goal, you will fall into these traps of I guess maybe porn addiction is what he's getting at. Or drug addiction, alcoholism, just degeneracy, just things that are morally bad for you. Because like when you do these things, they might feel like little like bits of pleasure at the time, but afterwards, don't you feel guilty? Don't you feel like shit after doing this, like these acts of degeneracy? We all do them. Even me. Even I'm not perfect. Even I fall into them.
But these solutions are always only temporary. They fall through the hands. We see these solutions, we see these glimpses.
Like it's empty happiness, and even though it feels good in the moment, afterwards you feel dirty, you feel empty, you feel unfulfilled.
Of pleasure as mere projections. In the case of OnlyFans, a viewer is merely projecting what they want to see onto a woman, and this is just a symptom of millions of men who lack any meaningful romantic connections. These men are everywhere, men who have fallen through the cracks of society and have been reduced to depressed hedonists. But of course, these solutions are never sufficient substitutes for real human connection, and like almost all pleasures, they end up leaving you feel empty inside. You see, all the factors that we've talked about contribute to the massive problem of loneliness. and this feeling gives way to a bitter hatred for the society that isolated them. And this is yet another way that resentment has been brewing in our society. Things like OnlyFans only compound the problem for these lonely men. And matched in the real world, Arthur also seeks a parasocial relationship with Sophie and starts stalking her from afar. That is until she notices and stops by Arthur's apartment afterwards, questioning if he was following.
See, this part of the movie confused me, because I was always wondering what interactions were real and which ones were made up in his head, because they never really clearly stated which ones were all exactly real. You know what I'm saying?
Her around.
Are you following me today?
Arthur has no idea how he's going to get out of this predicament, and so he admits what he was doing. Although strangely, Sophie doesn't seem too bothered by all of this.
What is
so
this?
Arthur invites her out to a nearby comedy club as he's been practicing his craft and finally has the confidence to perform. However, it all goes awfully. The only thing that goes right is Sophie being the only one to laugh in the audience.
Be a comedian.
Following this, Arthur's life only gets worse and worse. He's back to work doing a gig at a children's hospital. Everything seems to be going well until the gun that he bought falls out of his pocket while doing a dance. Now, a children's hospital really isn't the best place to flex your gun, and so of course this incident ends up getting reported to his boss.
It's like the metaphors in the real life applications that the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix had in it.
And once he hears about it, Arthur is fired on the spot. Even worse, Arthur's friend, the man who actually gave him the gun in the first place, throws him under the bus by claiming the firearm always belonged to Arthur. Distraught and with very little to lose, Arthur takes another lonely ride back home on the subway, wearing his full clown makeup. This is rock bottom. Arthur has nearly lost everything, and each day—
See, chat, I agree with this. You gotta hit rock bottom to get better. I've hit rock bottom, and when I hit rock bottom, you have a choice. You really do have a fucking choice. You either get better or you don't. And just being realistic, some people just don't. But you gotta be the person that gets better. You gotta be the person that comes back.
He's being treated more and more like garbage.
And coming back from rock bottom will remind you and strengthen you so you never have to go back there again. If you go to rock bottom, you don't make it out, but you slowly get back out of it and you get back to being, miserable and unhappy, you'll return to rock bottom over and over again. But if you truly crawl your way out of rock bottom, fulfill his role in society at the bottom, then he cracks with nothing to lose, and a gun, and he starts tearing down the system that beat him down. I mean, that's kind of what he's saying, but he's just relating it more to the actual experience of an everyday man who's on the fringe of society. So he's just going way more in depth with that. That's what he was saying. He just feels he feels meaningless. He feels unhappy. He has no goals, no meaning. He feels like the system's holding him down. Society's holding him down. Yeah. So yeah.
His self-image is in tatters. His looking-glass self is broken.
They're just more diving into how the character Arthur went through that process. That's just a simplified version of it.
There's nothing left to lose. Arthur is faced with a horrific realization that the routine and drudgery of his life.
Okay, yeah, me too. That's what I was saying. What? I was OnlyFans? That's what I was saying. I was I think I'm about to disagree because what does the fuck does OnlyFans have to do with any of this? But yeah, no, you're good.
All the pain and fear is leading to nowhere. His constant struggle for a better life was all for nothing. The belief in a future, better, happier life is now completely dead. So what else is there for Arthur? If all his beliefs are officially dead, well, that's when you develop a new identity, a new purpose. And in our real world, this is how more twisted beliefs begin to metastasize. And it's within these new beliefs that Arthur loses.
This dude, I know, I did notice that, Giraffe. I mean, I like this YouTuber, and the thing is, that's one thing I disagree with him on. I completely support sex work. These dudes, and this kind of topic, these dudes like him and other people who are completely against sex work blow my mind, because we've had societies like that where we, as a society, we downplayed and stigmatized and shit on sex work. First of all, men still consumed it in the same rates, if not more. It was way more dangerous for the sex worker. I don't see how anyone can obviously I don't believe in prostitution. I think prostitution is probably pretty dangerous as it is right now. OnlyFans, the porn industry, things like that. As a guy, I don't if you're a man or a woman, do I recommend you spending money on OnlyFans? No, I think that's overall bad for you because it's not good for your bank account. It's not good for your mental. It's not good for whatever. But as a sex worker, there will always be people who want to consume that content, who want to buy and that. So as a sex worker, you will always have the customer base for that. So if you want to sell it to them, like for example, like tobacco, like people are always going to fucking smoke cigarettes. Like no matter how much we shit on cigarettes and how bad it is for you, people always want to smoke them. Should we fucking stop the tobacco companies and fucking go out and beat up the owners of the? No, we fucking have regulations. We support the tobacco industry. It's part of our industry. It's part of our economy. Like that's how it should be, because people are always going to have like vices like this. Like you can only recommend like people around you and your close friends not to consume these bad habits. Like as a whole, if you force someone not to consume something, force someone not to do something or not to buy something, or you like try to like, it's just overall net bad.
His own emptiness and loneliness. In fact, new political beliefs are the only thing that will give Arthur courage in the dark. And just like that, the Joker is born. After years of resentment, Arthur is ready to explode, and something is about to push him off the
like for example, I've had girls in our community and who have OnlyFans, and I fucking support the shit. If you have OnlyFans, I support sex work, I support OnlyFans. But they ask if they promote it in my Discord, promote it within my followers, and tell people. And I've told them 100% explicitly no. Because I personally don't want you guys, people I care about, to fucking consume content that like you can if you want to, but I'm not going to be an enabler or promoter of it within my own community. You know what I'm saying?
Precipice. It all begins while Arthur is minding his own business and suddenly notices a group of 3 well-dressed men harassing a lone woman. These men are rich yuppies, and they're using their power to exploit this vulnerable woman. It's a microcosm of Arthur's wider political views, and with the stress of the day finally reaching Arthur's head, he unintentionally starts laughing, to which the group of men take notice. Shifting their attention, they now start toying with Arthur, eventually transitioning to a full-on beatdown. But little do they know the clown has finally reached a breaking point, and Arthur pulls out the weapon and immediately shoots 2 of them, and injuring the last one. High off the adrenaline, Arthur then makes his way to the stairs where the last man fled and proceeds to finish him. But contrary to what most might feel after taking the lives of multiple people, Arthur now finds a strange sense of peace, and he begins dancing alone in front of a bathroom mirror. Due to the victims being high-profile Wall Street yuppies, news of this quickly spreads to the top of Gotham's political ladder. One of the leaders, Thomas Wayne, aligns himself fully against this and labels those who oppose him clowns. But little does Gotham realize that this incident has lit a fire under the city. Public unrest is bubbling up to the surface, and it's becoming harder and harder to prevent. It seems like just like that.
That's why, chat, there's only one solution to the world's problems. We need a Batman. I'm gonna become Batman. I am justice.
Thousands and thousands of people hide behind clown masks, and these clowns aren't just thugs. They are the consequence of a society that has turned their back on the underclass. A generation of frustration, anxiety, agitation, and repulsion to modernity's supposed high standard of living. A standard of living that solely comprises of a violent and complex stimulation of sense at every second of the day, causing the need for more and more violent stimulation. A generation that craves distraction, as many distractions as can be crammed into the shortest possible time, all while living a life completely isolated from everyone, with no attachment to their labor or
society. Like a sidekick. So I like this guy's points. I like the points he's bringing up. Now, something that I hope he discusses the rest of the video is like not saying like, oh, society, you guys who can function in society normal, you've thumbed your nose at the people with the fringe, the people who don't fit in, blah 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 blah. Like I feel like that's good to raise awareness for that, but what you need to do is find a solution, help them find an option, help them find hope that isn't, fucking becoming an incel, becoming a racist, becoming like going down these weird rabbit holes on the internet. Like you gotta you gotta say there is hope. There is different things out there. There is things you can like love and enjoy and overcome. You just literally gotta how do I say this? Like you gotta find like what is your peace? What is your happiness in life? I feel like he's almost like maybe like justifying a lot of these guys. Like yeah, society's probably like a lot to play with their problems. Like at the end of the day, like your problems are your own problems, and you gotta fucking deal with that shit. You always gotta deal with your problems. It's your problems. Even if the government, society like fucks you over and gives you a bad hand, or your family or a girlfriend, boyfriend, like it's still your problems. And you still have to handle that and overcome them on your own.
It's becoming a simple reality for millions of these people that there is no longer a belief in the society that they live in. The binding traditions of the society they live in are no longer enough. You
gotta take accountability, self-discipline, responsibility.
And so the only way out of their despair requires a complete revolution. Which leads us on to the third step of Western revolution, social unrest. You see, when a society and its habitants become too harsh, it pushes more and more people out of it. And when the loneliness and resentment get to be too much for people to handle, cracks in the society start to show. And the next scene of of Joker gives us an insight into what causes this. It's shortly after this point that Arthur goes to see his therapist once more, and lots of what he says points us to another influential thinker on madness. R.D. Laing is a controversial figure in psychiatry.
This man looks mad. Holy shit.
One of his core theories matches what Arthur says in this scene exactly. Arthur
Yeah, it looks like Arthur.
mentions that he, quote, didn't know if he really existed. And you see, R.D. Laing theorized that one of schizophrenia's underlying causes is ontological insecurity, which means not being sure whether you actually exist. And as a defense mechanism to this existential problem, the self fractures into multiple pieces. In Joker,
The mad lad himself.
we see this happen literally.
Well, he's probably, if he's that mad, he's probably got a good grip and a good personal experience with it.
As Arthur's life devolves into chaos and he becomes increasingly unsure of what's really happening, with his personality splintering into two, Arthur and his new identity, the Joker. But here we can see a change in Arthur. He seems to have confirmed to himself that he really does exist, and the reason why is clear. He has found proof from the chaos itself that he created. His first meaningful impact on society wasn't done by Arthur, but by this new Joker. And this process also happens in the real world every day in the form of political radicalization. Men who have nothing to live for fall into an existential crisis, and often the solution.
I agree with this 100%. Now, I hope he doesn't try to justify it and say it's all society's fault, because I have found myself there. I felt so alone, and I felt myself in an existential crisis. But the thing was, like, I had a decision. Like, did I let it keep driving me mad, keep driving me insane, or did I find self-purpose, self-meaning, and pull myself out of it?
they find is ideology, whether that be incelism or political extremism. But all of these ideologies offer a destructive outlet for resentment disguised as a belief system.
Exactly. So exactly. Like all this shit's bad. Being radicalized one way or the other, being too fucking radicalized, whether it's too right, too left, too this, too that, is bad. It's fucking bad. That just takes away the individualism. That takes away your own goals, your own purposes, and gives a way to like a thought loop, a rabbit hole. Like you're stuck in believing in some insane bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
System.
One thing you gotta believe in, chat. You always gotta believe in yourself.
And if enough people get swept up by this new ideology,
you can't give way to an ideology. You can't believe solely into an ideology, because the only thing that's certain in life is yourself. That's the only thing you can be certain of, is yourself, and that you're real, and that you are capable of happiness, you are capable of more, and you are capable of a higher purpose. You are capable of having goals, passions, ambitions. You are capable of that. That's the only thing you could really believe in. You can say, alpha red pill energy. I like to fucking do red pill shit sometimes, or progressivism and we gotta fucking accept everyone, blah 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 blah. You can believe in these things, but at the end of the day, you gotta believe in yourself.
If enough people want to tear down the society they hate, it can directly lead to unrest, violence, and revolution. Sometime
Keep up getting hella bitches. If you believe it, you can achieve it.
From a couple of detectives
that was
investigating
good.
subway murders. The duo starts grilling him, but Arthur is able to hold it together and get them to leave. Shortly after, he finds that his mother has been hospitalized because of a severe illness. Once he pays her a visit, he sees that none other than Murray Franklin is live on TV, making a mockery of his stand-up. And while it seems like Murray is going to counsel Arthur, he actually receives a phone call moments later inviting him on the show. He reluctantly accepts, but then suddenly gets a bright, twisted idea after hanging up. Instead of going along with the inevitable public humiliation, Arthur will instead send everyone a message by ending himself on live TV. This is how he shows how sick the society has become, and he will sacrifice himself to do this. And you see, this is the turning point where the Joker begins truly spiraling into madness.
See, that's what happens when you give into an ideology rather than yourself.
Firstly, after talking to Mr. Wayne, Arthur soon discovers that his mother was never actually his biological parent, and that he had been an orphan this entire time. And he later learns through confidential documents that his mum regularly abused him as a baby and had cooperated with her boyfriend while doing so.
Yeah,
the straw that broke the camel's back was the mention of a head injury that was the probable cause of Arthur's laughing condition. After this is revealed, Arthur makes his way up to the hospital and takes away his mother's life.
I like how in every in real life serial killer documentaries and stuff I've watched too, one of the biggest breaking points for a lot of these men who are serial killers, and I'm not justifying it, is killing their mothers. They kill their mothers and they'd fucking go off the rails. I forgot that part. Yeah.
Things take an even worse turn once Arthur visits Sophie in her apartment, who appears terrified at just the mere sight of him. Arthur attempts to make some conversation, but she responds by saying she doesn't even know who he is, because their whole relationship was just a delusion. Although fortunately for Sophie, Arthur is able to somewhat gather himself and leave without hurting her. By this point in the story, Arthur's self
Yeah, I've been so upset if you hurt Sophie.
is truly degrading. Possibly the last good things in his life have dissolved in a matter of moments.
Yeah, dude, he lost the relationship he thought he had, and he lost what he thought was his good mother. That's so sad.
The bitter truth of his real reality
Like, that would break
has destroyed
anyone,
his lost self.
I think.
All the delusions of his relationship with Sophie have crumbled into the ground. These constant blows grow Joker's identity, and it's this exact road that many incels go down as well. The process of radicalization is extremely toxic, with violence occasionally following in its wake. Societal problems like this lead to the horrific disasters that we see in the US.
I agree, like, this could lead to violence, but in the day, you can't, like, blame society on violence, because when you do that, that automatically justifies and vindicates in a way all these killers, all these school shooters. Yes, they could be pushed to that, but that's why we have to teach people in our community, people in our society, that, like, no matter what happens, you're responsible for your own actions, and you can create happiness within yourself, within your own world, within your own reality. And what I mean by your own reality, so it's like, for example, like, if I think big picture, like, I'm in this world where there's these politicians who are trying to fucking get me to fucking take all my money and fucking brainwash me, and then the fucking taxes, and then the fucking COVID's fucking killing everyone, and blah blah blah, war, fucking all this identity politics, fucking, like, driving everyone's mad. That would drive any person fucking insane. That's why within your own reality is what you really got to focus on. And if everyone focused on their own reality, the world would definitely be a better place. So, like, within my immediate circle of friends and family, I keep very good people in it. I make sure they're all taken care of, they're all safe. I like to vote. I like to be an active member of my community. I care about my reputation, so I treat others well when I'm out and about. If I see something going on that's, like, in my community, that's like things like that, like things within your immediate circle that you could change and control, can affect. That's what truly affects your mental health. If you get lost in this greater fucking societal picture of all this bullshit, of course you're gonna go fucking insane, because it's all insane. It's all too much. It's too much for one human to fucking process.
A generation of alienated, lonely men is one of the most dangerous things to society, and the Joker shows this, as Arthur gets ready for a spot on the Murray Franklin show. While making his way to the studio, Arthur begins dancing down the stairs, fully embracing the chaos that he finds himself in. However, he gets interrupted when the same detectives who questioned him earlier see Arthur and the scene he is currently making. The two move to arrest him, but he bolts to the subway station, even getting hit by a car on the way there. Once they will reach the metro, nearly everyone inside is wearing clown masks to blend in with the ongoing protests. Fortunately, this allows Arthur to slip away from the law, and in the process, the detectives start getting beaten up by an irate group of passengers. The rebellion is growing. All the branches of the government and society around them are slowly being destroyed. And after everything he's been through, Arthur finally makes it to the TV studio. He hides his true intentions by donning his public mask and begins dancing whimsically over to his guest chair. He's playing his role as a stupid, idiot loser man. And after he takes a seat next to an elderly couple, Arthur plainly admits live on TV that he was the one behind the subway attack. He defends himself by saying that
If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me.
Obviously a well-connected...
And that is true. That is true. Like we pick and choose what's a tragedy in society. Like, for example, like the guys he killed, the 3 wealthy white businessmen. Super publicized, etc., blah, 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 blah. But, like, for example, people who are dying in poverty, people who are dying from starvation, homeless people who are dying from starvation, drug overdoses, no one gives a fuck. No one cares. But if there's a violent crime that happens in an affluential neighborhood, everyone cares. Everyone fucking cares.
An influential man like Murray Franklin isn't very convinced by these justifications, because he is the top of society, he is the elite, the status quo. He's the one reaping the rewards of this sick society, and Arthur has already made up his mind about what he's going to do next. So he asks Murray if he wants to hear another joke. What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? You get what you deserve, as he proceeds to air Murray in the face live on air. This is the final stage of revolution, the trigger. It's that one action that brings down the House of Cards. For Arthur, this is the final release of all the pent-up...
Are they gonna make a sequel to this Joker? Or is this a one and done show? Movie, I mean. I don't even know.
Anger and resentment that's been boiling up inside of him. A twisted catharsis to get back at the society that treated him like dirt. And this action is the final stage of revolution, where the growing loneliness and resentment of society hits a breaking point. When new political beliefs start, this makes Gotham a ticking time bomb.
Good shit.
This key establishment figurehead.
Is there a date for it? Because this movie's been out for like a year or two, right?
on live TV is
I
more than
tripping?
enough to set it off. To all the millions of clowns, Murray is a personification of the society that has kept them down. And it seems to be that the trigger like this is seemingly the only step we've avoided so far in today's world. But we can only
Lady
hope that
Gaga.
these changes to our society are
I like Lady
reversed
Gaga as an
before it's too
actor,
late.
actress.
As over the last section of the movie, we see the consequences of this revolution play out. Chaos ensues, with riots erupting all over
She's the new
Gotham, and
Harley?
in the
That's fucking dope.
back of a police cruiser, Arthur sees the sheer scale of the upheaval that he has caused, and it brings a smile to his face. It seems like Arthur is on his way to be locked up for life until a rogue ambulance crashes into the vehicle, killing the two policemen, with the protesters then carrying an unconscious Arthur out of the wreckage and laying him gently on the hood of the car. After a few seconds, Arthur gazes round at the massive crowd that has formed. It's at this moment that Arthur no longer exists. His new identity, his new belief, his new hope for a better world has begun, and so he starts dancing in a similar fashion to before, as he draws a smile with blood across his mouth, and the crowd cheers seeing their messiah. At the end of the film, the Joker finds himself imprisoned in Arkham Asylum being questioned. He has been telling a psychologist a story, and begins laughing once it's all said and done. The interrogator wants to know what's so funny, but Arthur responds that she just wouldn't get it. Moments later, he steps out of the room, and the film ends on a hallway shot of Arthur walking towards a window filled with light, leaving behind a trail of bloody footprints in his wake. Just like in Joker, tragedy is all that awaits if we see this twisted course of events in our own world. Something must be done to stop these similar processes in their tracks, otherwise Joker could turn from a mere warning to a prophetic image of the future.
Do I think something like this would truly ever happen, like the Joker? Maybe not, but I could definitely see, like, I mean, we've already seen it, like with like insane school shooters, insane random acts of violence, to prove a point, like these incel killers and shit like that. Now, like, is that society's fault? No, that's still the fucking killer's fault. It's still the person's fault. That's why I think, like, we need to obviously address these problems in society, and these people who are on the fringe, like these incels, like, I don't know how. Personally, I don't know how we bring them back into society and welcome them in, but we can't like just keep fucking pushing people away that are different, that are on the fringe. We not even like Kanye West. I'm talking about fucking Eminem. I'm talking about like influencers. I'm talking about real fucking people who feel alone, who don't fit in, who don't fit in with one side or the other. Like we abandon them. They're lonely. They're lost, and we have to give hope to them. There's got to be something that gives them fulfillment, excitement, joy. And you got to teach them that they can find that. They have to look for that. The Harley Quinn role. I'm excited for that. I like Lady Gaga as an actress. I liked her in American Horror Story.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more controversial videos that I can't release to the public, consider joining the channel. For just $5.99 a month, you'll have access to monthly exclusive videos not released to the public, where you can watch our videos on Ted Kaczynski and our Mr. Robot series review, and soon we'll be releasing a video on the man behind Gay Frogs. In addition to the exclusive videos,
you guys see where Alex Jones got fucking sued and they won, and basically a fucking was it $1 billion? How much did Alex Jones actually get like sued for, and they won? Like, how much was it?
you also have access to my private Discord group. All you have to do is click the join button below or click the link in the description.
Let's look it up. Some insane shit. What is up, lovely maggot? Oh, bro, what's up? What's good? How much did he actually get fucking $965 fucking million? No, it's more. Alex Jones forced paid $965 million to the Sandy Hook parents. We want to YouTube and chill if your mom's... She's more than okay with that. What's up, Kian? Holy fuck. What's up, maggot? It's good to see you. God damn.
Is this